Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back on Time Sports Talk. We are back at it again, going all over the world of sports. I am Casey, the Remix Schedule. My beautiful bald co-host, Eddie, the original Schedule, the legend himself. By the
That's
way,
very weird. You calling me by my first name.
well, I got to introduce you to the people.
That's true. To the peoples. To my
So,
peoples.
speaking of introduced to the people, how about that merch in the chair right behind you? If you would like a
Let's
shirt,
see.
contact me on Twitter at Coach Schedule. I'll get you a shirt, $20 a piece. Just throwing it out there.
Or on X, as it really is. Even though
Yeah,
you're supposed to say
everyone knows.
Twitter. Twitter. It's X. It's X.
Oh, calm down, Des Bryant. Okay. Um, all right. So, first subject of the day, we're going to get into it. NBA Finals. My Mavericks are down 0-2. But as an old wise man said once upon a time, the series doesn't start until someone loses at home. And that's about all the hope that I have to hang on to right now. So, uh, what did you see in the first two games?
Um, Ass whooping. Except the second game. The first game was incredibly hard to watch. It
Yeah.
was just a beat down. And I just uh, it was bad. It was I didn't see the same fire, and it just seemed like in the first period, um, it was they just seemed to not match the intensity at all, and it was pretty much over. After the first basically 10 minutes. Um, but the second game. Now that was what I expected. Was more of back and forth, a fight to hold the lead, and unfortunately, toward the end, Boston just was able to hit more shots and take over the game there toward the end, and but that gave me a little bit of hope. Now, obviously, I picked the Mavericks in five. Obviously, that's not freaking happening. Um,
No,
but
it's not.
I think I think some of it may go back to um, the experience of Boston, um, and I just think it was. We both picked Boston to win at the beginning. Now I changed after the Mavericks, and Denver flamed out after the Mavericks got past everybody and got to the finals. So I just think it's you can see that. Here's the thing I like. I think the kid um, can adjust, and you saw it in the second game. And that's where I think coaching I still think the Mavericks can pull this out, but it goes to your point. If they lose at home, yeah, it's pretty much over if they lose one of these at home. But I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
kid shows,
if
that
you go
he can
down,
adjust.
yeah, if you go down 3-0, I mean, it's game, set, and match. It's just inevitable. I don't think a Boston Red Sox miracle is happening in basketball. Um, and so, what I saw in game one is, yeah, Boston came out, opened a can, um, and ultimately made the Mavericks say, "Hey, you need to step your game. We're in a different league than you right now." And Mavericks fought back, cut it to 8 points, and with about 3:48, I think it was 4:48 left in the third quarter, and there was two key possessions in a row that I highlighted on my coach's corner this morning. Was is you needed a great look and a great bucket, and then Kyrie comes down jacks up a quick three, and then you get another stop, and Luka goes down and jacks up another quick three, and you get two bad shots there, and essentially Boston goes down, gets 2 buckets each possession, effectively ends your run, and it goes from a potentially 3 or 4 point game, even a 2 point game if you hit two threes there, yeah, off of great looks, to being a 15 point game, and effectively now you've spent all this energy digging out of a hole. Now you don't have the energy left. Luka is banged up beyond all get out. He looked like a freaking Egyptian mummy before game two, with the chest injury and the leg injuries, and I think that can't be somewhat understated too. I know they're picking on him on defense, but I also don't think he can play to even Luka level defense. He's not a great defender, but Luka level defense, and the fact of he can at least be somewhat competitive on that end. Right now, he is basically feels like he's playing on one leg, and he came out hot game two, and game two was more of a dogfight, but I don't see the Mavericks playing the championships basketball right now. Too many turnovers, too many giveaways, too many bad shots. Everything seems isolation. There's not a lot of ball movement like there was in the first 2 or 3 rounds. And the other guys, when they have getting open shots, Derrick Jones Jr. is not hitting. PJ Washington did have a good game. They get 14 or 15 points in game two, but he's gone cold from the outside. Kyrie is non-existent right now, essentially, which the Boston curse is real on Kyrie. I think he's 0-12 against Boston since he left.
Mhm.
And so, it's all going to come down to game three and see how they respond. They did make some adjustments. They did get a little bit of their lob game going in game two, which was completely absent in game one. And I think a big factor is, will Porzingis be out the rest of the series with aggravating that calf? I think that's a big storyline that a lot of people have highlighted as well. So, yeah, it's going game three. It's win or we're going to turn in the Minnesota Timberwolves and just not want to get swept.
Yeah, I mean that's something else. Is you mentioned Kyrie, and I think in the last series, um, he was he was a true point guard. He had a lot of assists. He was looking around. He was making passes when it needed to be made, and I don't think he's non-existent, but I think he is playing. It's weird because he's not playing with the same confidence to me, and he's also not getting his teammates involved like he was in the series before this. So, if you look at the stats from this game, you've got your two forwards, your two guards for the Celtics. Everybody had more than 15 points, whereas the Mavericks, you basically had Kyrie who had 16, Washington was 17. Everything else went to Luca. Jones and Gafford barely involved, but you can't
I will say,
depend.
so Gafford, all his points came in the second half. They started to figure out how to use their bigs. There was some, I'll say, questionable non-calls by the referees. By the way, Tony Brothers is awful. I can't stand that dude as a referee. He just has something out for the Mavericks. We lose almost every game. He's officiating. Not saying he's the reason. He
Mhm.
wasn't a big factor in that game, but there was one time Gafford catches it, goes up to the rim, and I mean they rake his arms. It's clearly he still makes the dunk.
Yeah,
Should
I
have been
saw
an
that.
and
I
one.
saw it.
Um,
Yeah, you
there's
know,
other instances in there, and then they kind of call a bailout call for Jason Tatum. Now that might be because he's a star, Gafford's not, and I'm not making a big deal of the push at the end and the small of Washington's back by Jaylen Brown. I thought PJ Washington should have jump stop, pump fake, let those dudes fly by, and then you have an easy 2 or a kick out to Kyrie for an open 2 or an open 3. But that's just fundamental basketball that we don't see in the NBA anymore. So,
Well, I tell you where they can't match Boston, and that is in free throw percentage.
free throws
Boston
have
was
been a problem for the Mavericks all playoffs, and it's coming to
because
bite them in their ass.
because Boston missed 1 out of 20, missed one, and it's just they're going to have to either up their game in that, or the free points or what's because really that is the big difference to me in this game. Even though it's all about streaks and runs and toward the end. Um, I got to watch the language I'm using. Streaks and runs. People think I'm talking about underwear. But
Taco Bell.
so, but yeah, that to me, those free points, if you can get a higher percentage than the other team, um, obviously this to me was if you look at the stats down the line, it's almost even across the board, except for steals. Now, steals is a different thing. Whereas Boston had double, they had 10 versus the Mavericks 5. But so those are a couple little stats in there that if the Mavericks can improve, which I still hold out hope for the Mavericks because I think Kidd can adjust. We saw it from game 1 to game 2 as a coach that he was able to adjust.
Well,
So
I'll tell you. So I'm talking about championship basketball, right? And I don't know if you remember this play, but Luca, I think it was it might have been off our long rebound, but or a steal, and Luca and Lively are going down the court. It's a 2-on-1 fast break, and Luca doesn't throw the lob. He goes in, he tries to slow down, and then he throws it to Lively, and Lively tries to finish over 2 guys because it was so slow and so poorly executed. They let the defense get back in the play, and that's just not championship basketball. Like, then you had the Luca pass, like just throwing it out of bounds. Like, what the fudge sickle was that? And and then there was one possession that really infuriated me with Luca. Right, is one of the big issues I've seen, especially in game 2, and is the rebounding game, especially offensive rebounds. There was a possession that I would have benched one of my players for. Now I know this is the NBA and you're not going to bench Luka Doncic. I get it, unless you're losing big and there's no hope. Then you'll bench him, but you're not going to bench Luka. But you got to send a message here of Luka is standing there. The shot goes up, wide open 3, ends up short, bounces off the rim. His guy runs past him, offensive rebound, and he just turns around, looks. They kick it out to Derek White, no closeout, bang 3. And I'm just sitting here like, what the hell are you doing? You're just sitting there watching the ball. I know he's got injuries. I know all that, but if you can save it for the offensive end, you can at least go get a damn rebound on the defensive end. That crap infuriated me. From your best star, and that's the effort you're going to put out. It was BS.
yeah, and I was just going through a few of the replays. You know, when you look at Boston and when you talk about defense, it's the amount of room they have. This is what astounds me about Dallas's defense because this year we said, oh, their defense is better. But if you look at where they're setting on these threes that Boston is shooting, and even going into the rim, it's like they're just standing there.
Yeah, it's
They're
Boston has had great ball movement because the problem is Boston is doing what they should do. Udoka is doing what he should do in the fact of he's getting the switch with Luka Doncic on the pick and roll, which sometimes they just switch when they don't have to. You could go under and recover and get back to the guy screening, which I don't understand why defenses don't do that more. But they attack Luka off the dribble because they know he's not 100% and he can't stay in front. There's once every 5 possessions they'll keep the guy in front of him. But then they drive, we collapse, they kick, we close out, and then it's just chickens with their head cut off running around trying to play defense. It looks like a varsity basketball team playing against an 8th grade B teams at times when Dallas is on defense. That's what it reminds me of. And they're
Yeah.
just getting wide open threes. And if the Celtics would have been on fire or even hit a high percentage in game 2, that would have been an ass kicking.
Yeah.
So I'm holding out hope as a Mavericks fan and as someone who now we're covering the Mavericks from a Dallas perspective. But what I'm seeing on defense, I mean, I tweeted it. I'm ready to concede that Dallas is a piece or two away from competing with Boston. Now Boston's getting older with some of their other players, Al Horford, Drew Holiday, those guys. But right now, Boston's a better team, and I can
Yeah.
admit that. And I should have never changed my pick. So I apologize to Jason Fry, who called me out on it the other day. He texted me and said your pick doesn't count because you didn't pick the Mavs before the playoffs. But I mean, you just it just
Yeah.
it's terrible basketball in the championship series because how good Boston is and how limited right now Dallas's defense appears to be.
Yeah. I'm sitting here looking at, when Jaylen Brown hit that long three, and I think it put him up 97 to 89 or something like that. That's when it that's when it just seems like the air went out of the bubble for the Mavericks. And because you watch any of the shots after that for Boston, it's like the Mavericks are just kind of like, oh, okay, oh, okay, okay, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
there's a flag. There's a flag.
pretty much.
And and it was just when he hit that long three, and I mean nothing but net.
It's
It
a
was
killer.
just it was like that's it. We're done. And that's kind of the attitude they had.
And then and I'm going to rephrase my example of Luka watching the rebound. They ended up getting an and one, not a three. Then a couple possessions later, Luka gets the ball stolen. Then Kyrie takes a bad shot and leads to White hitting a three. I think I was getting those two mixed up.
Yeah. Yeah, some of
Um,
the turnovers were just they were they were high schoolish,
but yeah, I mean
you
the
know.
Mavericks came out hot, right? And then solid first quarter, but then you give up the three at the very end to Al Horford in the corner, and
Yeah.
then old boy hits the lucky three off the glass. And when that kid hits a three from half court off the glass, I mean it's probably not your night. But Dallas has got to do some soul searching. Obviously going back home, the environment, the AAC is going to be off the chain, and first finals game since 2011. There, I think they can pull out game 3, but they're going to have to shoot high percentage, as you said and pointed out. Free throws are going to have to be made, and they got to find a way to not look completely lost on the defensive end right now. But Boston's matchups make you do that. They really do. Everywhere you look, that 5-out offense, drive, kick, swing. You know, it's a hard thing to do in that space that is on the floor. Obviously the NBA floor is a little bigger than high school. In high school, the kids are stepping in the 3-point line, which is less distance that you have to close out and cover with your length. Well, college and sorry, NBA, guys step out 30 feet and hit threes like Porzingis was doing the other night. So, but Dallas has got their work cut out for them. That's where I'll end that.
Yeah, I still hold out hope, but we'll we'll see.
That's,
They got to bring it in game 3 for
yeah.
sure.
Well, once we get off here, we'll pray to baby Jesus. All right. So let's stay in the NBA. The other big story in the NBA, Dan Hurley gives a middle finger to the Lakers and says, I don't want your job. I don't want your $70 million. I'm going to stay at UConn. Holy crap.
Well, who the hell wants to live in LA?
Oh, there's a few people. I mean, I don't. I'm not fond of LA. I've visited a few times. I wasn't that
Well,
impressed.
so I think a lot of people are like, "Ooh, how can you turn down $70 million?" But the thing is about coaching versus the pros versus college. There's certain coaches that like it, and they know when they go to that pro level, it's a completely different ball game. Pardon the pun. It's a completely different ball game, and he's won two back-to-back national championships
He's
in
trying to go for history.
basketball.
He's trying to go history.
Basketball. And that's the thing. Only one person's done it before, and I can't think of who that is off the
It
top of
would
my
be
head.
John Wooden. Won
Yes,
like 6 straight.
yes. And
So,
that is so damn difficult to do, especially in today's basketball, that he has a chance to do. I think they're ranked number 5 coming out next year.
yeah,
Um,
you
but
can't pay attention to those rankings till February.
yeah, but the thing is, I just think it. First off, he doesn't want to deal with LeBron, which I couldn't blame him for. But also, a lot of people don't take into account. They just think, oh, it's money, and so you go there. But you look at where he lives now versus where he would be going, uprooting your family versus what you get here. Whereas I think it's not just about basketball. I think it's more about his personality and where he wants to be right now. And he knows, just like everybody else who's gone and coached LeBron, if things don't go well, it ain't LeBron that goes away, it's the coach that goes away. And so, why? I mean, I get it. It's a lot of money, but why would you want to deal with that?
Yeah, I don't know about in this situation. I don't think the LeBron factor is big as it has been in the past. I mean, the dude's almost 40. So, and the reports were, and I can't confirm this, I'm not an insider yet. So I don't have contacts to verify this, but the reports were that LeBron told the Lakers, do not involve me in your coaching search because I'm not going to be around long term. LeBron can leave this year if he wants to, but you know, which I'm not a fan of LeBron, but I'll commend him on saying that, actually saying, hey, like, this is the reality of the situation. I got 1, 2, maybe 3 years left at the most. And so this isn't my hire to make. Don't involve me. I think Anthony Davis was more involved. And that's why the Dan Hurley thing really took off. I think LeBron respects Dan Hurley and he would listen to him. If you see some of his tweets about Dan Hurley and his offensive schemes and things of that nature, he's very complimentary of Dan Hurley. So I think he would have endorsed the hire for sure. But I think it was more long term, and the Lakers really want to. You got to build something now in the NBA. The 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 super team formula is kind of gone by the wayside. The your mega teams with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, or Allen, Garnett, and Paul Pierce. Those teams are kind of going by because they didn't win on a mass scale like they were supposed to. And so, but Hurley staying, it's amazing that you turned down one of the most storied franchises in the world, not just in basketball, but the Lakers are a worldwide franchise or a worldwide brand. To turn them down to stay in the Big East at UConn, like, now he's making good money. It's not like he ain't making money, but there are those factors. I don't. I think his wife is from the East Coast. He's got 2 sons. Um, I do believe his sons are grown or at that age. I think one of them played for him at UConn in the last few years. So there is that factor. But Dan Hurley has been very clear. He wants to go coach in the NBA. And he was very complimentary of, I said, oh, he gave him the middle finger. He didn't do that personally. I was just saying the situation of him turning down Lakers to stay at UConn is kind of the proverbial middle finger. But to stay at UConn, a Big East, which the Big East was supposed to be dead a few years ago. And, he's turned UConn back into a powerhouse. And, that's a hard thing to walk away from. I mean, the Lakers tried to get uh, Coach K in the mid '90s, or what? No, early 2000s because it was Kobe, and Coach K was all like, "No, thank you, I'm staying at Duke." So I think we'll see Hurley in the NBA eventually, but I I don't think he thought it
No,
would make it.
I look at if you're coaching LeBron, it almost turns into coaching the Dallas Cowboys. You're not the main voice. You're not the ultimate decision maker. You know that everybody is going to say you're not in charge, and as long as LeBron is on that team, I don't care how old he gets. It's the same thing. It's not to me. Everybody always wants to make the comparison of Michael Jordan, LeBron. The big difference to me is Michael Jordan could be coached, and you didn't see, and Andy was a coach on the floor. Whereas LeBron to me is just a big baby on the floor, is what he is. He is, and was a lot, if he had the attitude that I want to be coached, I want to get better at things, and of course we're way past that. Like you said, he's much older now. We're way past that. So I just think if you're going to go coach LeBron, you're not going to be in charge ultimately, and that's you
I,
know
I just got to disagree. At this point in his career, he's not in charge because one of the things the Lakers, it was reported that they wanted to build was a culture because you have to build a culture to win. Boston has built a
Is this
culture.
a culture of sucking? Because
Well,
they kind of suck.
that's why they wanted to bring him in because they love what he's built at UConn, his philosophies, his system, and ultimately, I just don't think I don't think James is a big factor in it at all this time for the first time in his career by his own doing or just by circumstance. And the biggest star on that team moving forward is going to be Anthony Davis. And we're trying to build something around Anthony Davis because he's got to take over when LeBron leaves, whether that's this year, whether he retires next year, whatever it is. So um, I disagree on the LeBron factor there. So
Yeah. Well, I can't believe you're actually defending LeBron. This is
I'm
just
not
weird. I didn't know hell froze over today, but okay.
I'm not defending him. I just think I'm disagreeing with your point of view of saying he is the decision maker when at this point in his career he's not. Up until this year or 2 years, he has not been the guy making the decisions. Because if it was up to all the reports and up to LeBron, it would be JJ Redick already hired, apparently, which I think would be a huge mistake, not only for the Lakers, but for JJ Redick. So, um, it, I just disagree with your viewpoint. I'm not defending LeBron. I still don't like him. Uh, but speaking of people who don't like individuals, apparently the Olympic team doesn't like Caitlin Clark.
What Olympic team? Why is there any interest in it now? I'm
There's,
not interested. Are you interested?
I mean,
Can you
I,
name even three players on that Olympic team? Or
uh,
even one player? Can you name
Asia,
one player on
Asia
there?
Wilson,
Who?
Asia Wilson, Diana Taurasi, and Ionescu from New York, the New York Liberty, and Breanna Stewart is on the team as well. After that,
Didn't they
I
didn't
ain't
they
got.
put the girl that was in Russia
Oh,
jail?
Brittany Griner.
Yeah. Isn't she on there now?
Yeah, but well,
Yeah,
like
she's great
State Farm
for
said,
USA. But that's another story.
So
But
she's a
my
guy.
thing is it? I don't care what type of justification you use. I don't care what it is, but this person, she is selling out WNBA games. They had more attendance. Did you see this stat for Caitlin Clark's last game versus the first game of the NBA Finals? They had higher
Hold,
attendance.
hold up, hold up, hold up. You can't. You get this. Got to be in context because the TD Garden holds less people than that stadium. The TD Garden was sold out in Boston. Don't get that twisted. You got to
But
understand the
still,
seating.
but still,
But now, if you
when
look at the average WNBA game that doesn't have Caitlin Clark versus the game that does have Caitlin Clark in it, you're 100% correct.
if we go to last year, they probably, all 50 fans were probably very excited. But now, this year, there's interest. And the same thing could have happened with the Olympics. And not only that, they would have won.
Well, I think
And
they'll win anyway.
well, we'll see about all that. But now there's rumors out there and more talk that maybe they're going to reconsider to put
Look,
CC
look,
on the team.
look. I'm always be honest. If you're the Olympic team, you can't do that. You can't backtrack because you lose any and all credibility you already have. If you have
What
any.
credibility? They
Look,
have no credibility.
look. I understand, and
There is no credibility.
I don't. I can't believe I'm going to say this. If you look at the roster of the Olympic team that they announced, the one thing I'll say is now you got to take someone off that roster, and who do you take off? Because you can't add just a person to the team because there's not enough roster spots. And so, do I think it was a missed opportunity by the Olympic team to grow women's basketball internationally? You're damn right I do. Okay. But it is a very competitive team. I think they're going to easily win the gold medal with the roster they have. It is not as international women's basketball is not as competitive as men's international basketball. I'm probably going to get torched for saying that, but the gap between the American men and international men is closed mightily. The gap has not closed for the women in that dramatic sense as compared to the men's game. So ultimately, it was a missed opportunity by the Olympic Committee. But I want to give credit to Caitlin Clark in this situation. She says all the right things. She handled it with grace. She said, hey, it's something to work for the future. Now, the other argument of this is Caitlin Clark's going to be like 26 by the time that comes around again. Like, she's only going to play in 2 Olympics probably. Maybe she plays in a third, but it was a chance to set the foundation for 2 or 3 Olympics long term. And I think that is the short sightedness of the Olympic Committee of not putting her on the team. So, I'm not blasting them 100%, but if you talk about the reasoning why they left her off that I've seen in the headlines when it comes to there was people worried about reaction of her not
Hang on,
playing.
hang on. I'm looking back here because I'm looking for some backlash. You see any backlash?
Oh
Wasn't that the reason?
yeah,
They
well,
were,
that was the reason.
it had nothing to do with basketball. It had everything to do with this hatred, this
Ooh,
this
careful,
jealousy. You know, if you take what is her name, Diana Taurasi,
Taurasi, one of
Taurasi,
the greatest NBA players or
Taurasi.
WNBA players of all time.
She has been. This will be her
Like 4th or 5th.
6th Olympics. 6. Whereas now you're pushing Caitlin back. I just think it's the fact that they came out and they said because we're worried about backlash, clash, that they'll sell more tickets.
No, it
More
was
people will watch.
it was backlash of if she's not playing very much. Because what when they looked at the team is they go down the guard play, and this is just me thinking coach hat on, is there are better guards in the league than Caitlin Clark. That is a fact right now because Caitlin Clark's got to get stronger. She got to develop her game, watch her turnovers, shoot the ball at a better percentage. And there's guards who do that better than her right now. But they were worried about, oh, she's on the team and you're not playing her. Why aren't playing her? Now you're making it personal on the team. They're worried about that backlash because, it's not like they haven't put hell, they had Christian Laettner on the 92 Dream Team, not because of talent. They passed over Shaquille O'Neal for Christian Laettner. This situation is unprecedented. The Olympic team could have done this. All right. They passed on Alonzo Mourning for Christian Laettner. But they put Christian Laettner on the team because he had a cachet, because he's a two-time NCAA champion. He had a presence about him. Caitlin Clark has a presence about her. They should have put her on the team, in my opinion, but I'm also not destroying them if it was a legitimate basketball reasoning, but it doesn't sound like it is.
Yeah. No one watches the Olympics anymore anyway. So
Well,
they just made it worse.
I agree. All right, let's talk about a little hockey right now. The Stanley
You
Cup
know,
Finals
they
going on.
use sticks and pucks in
Yep.
hockey.
And the object
Every
is
guy has a stick. Even the goalie has a stick. But you know what? He carries a much bigger stick than the other guys. Just wanted to make sure you understand that analysis. And all this is done, in case you didn't know, on ice.
so what you're saying is every player brings their own wood to the hockey ring and the goalie has the biggest piece of wood.
Yeah, the goalie has a big piece of wood for
So what
sure.
you're saying is ladies love the goalie.
Yeah. Well, there you
This
have it.
is getting awkward now.
That is, yes,
But
very awkward.
they play with a
I'm
puck
watching
too.
for backlash. I'm checking for backlash.
They play with pucks, and the object of the game is to score more goals than the other team. It sounds very similar to soccer.
The
Oh,
goal is not to get pucked up. You don't want to get pucked up.
well, we're pucking up this segment right now. I'll tell you that. Uh, all right.
All
So
right.
your pick, Florida, is it what is it 1-0 right now?
Yes.
They play
They're
tonight.
playing tonight.
They play
Yeah. In
tonight. So
fact, I
up
think they're
1-0.
playing right now. Let's see if we can get a live update from NHL right now. Um, yes, live update. It is the end of the first, and Edmonton is up 1-0.
1-0.
Yep, after the first.
Well, I tend to agree with you that Florida is the better team in this series. Obviously, I picked the Stars originally, and they got ousted by the Oilers. But I think it's been a good series.
Well,
It was a good game one.
the thing about the Panthers is they're a very physical team. Now, when Edmonton played the Stars, they were pretty physical. But the thing is about the Panthers, it never lets up. And they are like, if they changed their name, it would be like Wasp when you mess with a wasp nest and they all come at you. That's what the Florida Panthers do. If you watch, whether it's on a penalty kill or it's in their zone, it is just red jerseys, if they're wearing red, obviously, coming at you. And they just swarm on you and they constantly beat you down and they wear you out. And I think that's what we saw in the first game is because, after McDavid had the great game against the Stars, everybody's like, and he does, he plays on a different level. He is on a two tiers above everybody else on the ice, but they kept him at bay. They were on him. It's just like in any sport when you say you got to take their best player out of the game. That's what the Panthers did. And once again, I remember I picked the Panthers because I think they have better goaltending, and I do. I think Skinner is suspect. He did a really great job against the Stars and had a hot streak, but I still say he is suspect as far as a goalie. If they get in his head, then he is definitely going to be. I don't care if he's got the big wood. If they get in his head, Skinner is going to be the downfall of the Edmonton Oilers. Mark my words.
The Florida goalies, was it or Borowski, but how you say his
Well,
last
yeah,
name?
one of those tongue twister names that I would never be able to pronounce because I'm from Texas.
Well, apparently
So
I
just
don't know
call.
it either because I just didn't do a very good job on that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Oilers can keep up that game 2 lead that they got 1-0, and even the Lord Stanley Cup final at one game apiece. So should be pretty interesting there. Uh, all right, our last story of the night. Now, I don't know if you searched this up. You said you hadn't seen it, but it, it it's going to coincide into transition to something else when it comes to NIL. But there's this video going around of well, I guess I should say our favorite university, being Texas Aggies, is there's a video going into Texas football to their practice facility, just lined up Lamborghinis, just Lambos, looking like Dubai, and just walking in. And I'm sitting here like, what are we doing? Like, and the transition is to NIL. NIL is out of control. It is ridiculous right now. College athletics is, I'm, I don't even know if I like college athletics anymore.
Well, this was what was going to happen when it got to the point when they said, yes, they should be paid because they're using their likeness, they're using their jersey numbers, to all these things. And it's going to be really difficult to control that going forward because it's all going to be based on the stardom. Yeah, I just saw the video here. I hate the Longhorns even more now. But it's just going to be such a
Did you fall asleep?
hard, it's going to be extremely difficult to control this going forward. Even though I think they should make a lot of the rules that have been against them in the past,
We're
I think
stupid.
were ridiculous. Um, but I think there's not going to be a limit on it, and it's going to go the route eventually of the schools with the most money are going to be the best teams, and which to a certain extent that it's already that way.
True, and I don't disagree with that. What I don't like here is I'm going to say what I don't like, and then I'm going to say where I can see college football ending up going. What I don't like is you're giving what essentially is a $400,000 or $500,000 scholarship to a player, and then he's making $1 million or whatever it is. If you take NIL money, you should not be a scholarship player. That's my opinion. If you take money, you should have to pay for your school. Like that's the way I see it. Like you want to make all the money you want in the world, okay? If you are an average student that's not a college athlete and you're not on scholarship, you can make all this money, but you still got to pay for your education, right? So I think scholarship athletes should be done away with if they participate in NIL. Now, with that and the scholarship, there should be a stipend for them to live on. which was already in place. I think it was $3 or $4 a month, which is insane. It's more than I make as a teacher.
Money if you can get it.
Right. And so ultimately is it has to be reeled in at some point, at some level, and the major universities need to lead the charge on it to have a scale for this. Because there's no way a quarterback should be getting paid more than his head coach in college. You are giving an 18-year-old a 7-figure deal, and you want them to be responsible and respect the coach that's making $100,000 as their position coach. And when they can just enter the transfer portal if they're not happy, which that's another thing that is BS. I think that if your coach leaves your university, you should be able to transfer, and you should be able to get one transfer free a year, or not year, sorry, in your college career. So if your coach leaves, you can transfer, or you got one freebie that you can transfer in 4 years. It shouldn't
You
be I
saying you
can
shouldn't be able to leave every year? You want?
no, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Oh, I'm not happy. And that feeds into this BS culture we have in the US that feed goes all the way down to AU basketball that goes. I had a kid, okay? I had a kid because he wanted to play with a certain player, claim something that happened at a school that didn't happen. And then the next day after our season was over, transferred schools. And because they claim what they claim, the school district wasn't going to fight it because he wanted to play with a 5-star quarterback and not with the 2 or 3-star quarterback that they had at that school. Like this is the type of crap that happens that gets endorsed by parents that leads all the way up to college and then the pros, and it's terrible.
Well, to me, what it is it's you don't have to work for it anymore, and so many of the challenges, even though they'll sit here and say, "Oh, sports is a challenge" or whatever, the challenge was when guys like Doug Flutie playing for a team nobody really knows, and all of a sudden he does something spectacular, pulls off a miracle despite everything that's going on. It's watching guys. What's that?
He played for Boston College. Just let
Yes, Boston College. But there's lots of stories like that. Um, and you're removing the challenge and we see it in unfortunately not just in sports but in society for a lot of young folks, the fact that they don't face adversity or adversity is taken away or they can choose, I don't like that, I'm just going to go over here. Yeah, I don't like that, I'm going to go over here. Yeah, I think that the constant being able to transfer is damn ridiculous. It's like you said, once to me is okay. And there needs to be a good reason for it. And like you said, if the coach leaves, which they do, then following them. And I don't even know about the one freebie you're talking about. I don't necessarily agree with that. You chose the school, you made a promise, you made a commitment. Then get your ass in there and play. And a lot of this is just from, I see a lot, even in professional sports. It's it's so much about them and how this is one of the things I said this about the Cowboys, not on our show, but to me, what the problem with the Dallas Cowboys versus the Cowboys of the 90s and the championship teams is back then it was about the damn team. It wasn't about Emmitt Smith. It wasn't about Troy Aikman. It wasn't about Irvin. It wasn't about Charles Haley. They played as a damn team. And it was about the team winning. Now it's all about CD. Am I going to get my money? Michael Parsons. Look at me. Look at me on X. And I'm on there every day talking about shit. I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about half the damn time. Play the damn game and shut up as far as I'm concerned. You're a great player, but damn, dude, it ain't about you. It is about the team. And the Cowboys, to me, it's a culture that's been created by Jerry. I'm all in. It's all about me. I'm going to be on TV and I'm going to be the last one to talk. That's what's good. And that is the culture they have created there, that it isn't about the team anymore. In the 90s and back in the 70s, it was about you had your stars. Yes, you had your stars. But at the end of the day, the reason Emmitt Smith played through that playoff game against the Giants with a busted shoulder, he wasn't doing it because he wanted notoriety. He wanted his team to achieve that win.
Well,
And so,
I'm gonna pause that. So you're talking about CD holding out, wants his money. Obviously, Micah wants his money, and you're comparing it to the '90s. I'm gonna play antagonist here. Emmitt Smith held out. He didn't report training camp. He missed the first 2 games of the year, and they went 0-2. And Jerry was like, "Oh, damn, we might need Emmitt Smith." So he ended up paying him what Emmitt Smith was worth. Emmitt was in a business situation. So when it comes to players getting paid and what their market worth is, I don't have an issue with that.
yeah, now I'm going to take, yeah, I will
So,
take that as a little bit. But here's my thing. Nowadays, it's all about the last guy and what he got paid. I
I
don't
don't.
think it was so much about Emmett back then. I think it was more about I need what's fair, and that was what it was.
Well,
Now
if
it's more about,
if
go
if
ahead.
if if CeeDee Lamb says, "I think Justin Jefferson money is fair," and that's his viewpoint, then you can't chastise him because you just said Emmett held out because he wanted what was fair.
What year was that for Emmett? Do you remember?
93. It was the second year they won back to back.
Yeah, they had just won a Super Bowl. What the hell have CD, Dak, or Micah done today? What the F have you done for me lately?
Oh, well, you're
I'm
sounding
gonna
like an
go.
Eagles
My thing is, you know, it's, and I feel the same way about JJ, Justin Jefferson. I feel the same way. They haven't done a damn thing yet. And Emmett had just been the running back on a Super Bowl team. And if I'm not mistaken, I think, wasn't he the MVP?
fan. That year, he was the MVP after he got re-signed.
Well, he did something. I think he had the most touchdowns. He had something. Now, I get it. Their stats with CD and all this stuff, but they ain't won nothing yet. That's what drives me crazy. Is they think I'm just going to get paid. It's ridiculous.
Well,
And
so I kind of got off a
well,
Cowboys tangent here. If we bring it back to the college and the NIL part of this, is and you were talking about the transfer rule. Um, I think sometimes, and we experience this as adults. Um, you know, like to be honest, like you'll take a job that you think is right for you, and then you get in that job and you realize it's not right for you. So that's why I think that one freebie for that college athlete, like I had a student this past year for the first semester, all she would talk about is this one university she wanted to go to, and then over Christmas break, her and her family went and visited it, and she realized, nah, this isn't for me. Like you have this idea of what you think is for you, and especially at that age, that young, you're kind of naive in your decision making process, especially while people are dangling nice carrots in front of you, like Lamborghinis, like this deal, like that deal. Hey, you're gonna stay in here. We're gonna give you a nice chain and a nice Rolex, all that stuff. So I think ultimately where I see all of this going because of the money. I think the big universities are going to get together. I think they're going to separate from the NCAA. They're going to be minor league teams or minor league factories for the NFL officially, because we all know that's what they are now. But I think it's going to be bankrolled by the billions from the NFL as well. And you're going to see high school kids sign to contracts to those minor league teams like Alabama, Texas, A&M, Georgia. I could really see that happening. I'm not saying that's imminent, but like because they're basically mini professional teams now.
That's an interesting subject. Is the NFL ever going to top out? Are they ever going to reach the pinnacle where you just can't because pay anymore? Because they've already priced it to whereas the regular fan can't go to a game, maybe one a year, maybe one a year. And they damn sure can't go to a playoff game or
No.
the Super Bowl is not a fan's. It's a TV game. Is what the Super Bowl is for
Yeah,
the for
it's
the
a
regular folk.
it's
Huh?
rich star. The Super Bowl is a corporate sponsor, rich stars type situation. It's not
Well, and this is, but that's a question that I wonder, and it's obviously something that would be for another subject another day. But
that
is
is
the NFL going to top out at some point? It's like
a
the housing market. The housing market goes so high and then it drops, and I just wonder at what point the NFL is going to have to be at an area to whereas we can't get people, and we don't see it now. I'm not saying now. Right now, stadiums are filled. People are paying crazy money
yeah.
to just go watch one football game.
Well, the
So,
only thing I'll say to that is yes, that'd be for a different show, but even Rome fell. So, which was the pinnacle of ancient civilization. Hashtag history major. All right, let's go and wrap it up and call it a night, call it a show. We appreciate y'all if you made it all the way to here. We appreciate y'all listening to this point. Like, subscribe, comment. Please do it. Shout out to the Tel Valhalla Project, Mission 22, Camp Hope, any company, any service that benefits our veteran community is one we want to show love to. And I know my counterpart here is about to give out his own shout out. Ready, set, and go.
yes, so Devlin Health Concepts, we're working in Texas, working really hard to help with the mental health epidemic. We have licensed therapist, case management all over Texas. My team works really hard. We know Texas right now has over 7 million people diagnosed with mental health issues, and a big majority of those are children. And so we're out there helping, big majority also as veterans. So we're out there trying to help and meet the community's needs there. So shout out to my team and the work that they do. If you're needing mental health service or therapy or just need somebody to talk to, look us up at devlincares.com and we'll be glad to help you and get you set up with someone. So,
Yep. And so just remember, if you are out there struggling, remember you are enough, like my shirt says. And it's the biggest sign of strength to reach out if you decide to do that. So, all right. And a quick shout out to the amazing Linda. She is awesome. She's been my huge support system here. And she's actually the one who made that great shirt that if you want one, I can make you one. Just shameless plug there. On time sports talk.
like
Great.
you ever had any shame to begin with. So,
Well, you taught me to be confident. I'll just say that.
that's right. Well, you could have been a goalie and carried big wood, but
I'm not going to go there. We already butchered that. I'm not going there. All
Did
right.
you just say you're not going anywhere with big wood? Is that what you just said?
That's not what I said. You messed that up like the damn Patrick Mahomes clip. I'm going to have to short this one too just to give it to the people. All right. We love y'all. Peace. We're out.